Today in this video we're going to paint up some Walking Dead. Hi guys, and welcome to Pyro Painting. Today we're going to be painting up some miniatures from the Walking Dead's All Out War by Mantic Games. Today we're going to specifically concentrate on Rick. Rick's obviously the main character of the show, so I thought it'd be fitting to start out with this. Now over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, but over the next few videos at least, you're going to be seeing a lot more videos of The Walking Dead, which will range from some of the main characters from the starter set, some event exclusive ones. Also we'll be looking at how to show you how to paint the zombies, and we're going to look at some special ones as well. We'll also be doing some battle reports. So everything you see here is going to be all part of one big thing that's going to involve All Out War by Mantic Games. So as I said, today, tutorial for Rick. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll see you guys when I get the camera down on the table. So then, here's the model. This is Rick from the Mantic game All Out War, and you can see really nice model. Bit chunky in some places, but overall good. First thing, we'll start with the skin. Barbarian flesh is the main one for this. Now with all base coats, you just want to get a good solid coat on every part of it. I found with a few of these army painter colours you're going to need to go over twice, possibly 3 times, but that's more the lighter, and depends on what kind of primer you're using, if you're using a darker instead of lighter. So you see on Rick there's not a lot of skin showing, so that can be quite an advantage, especially if you're not very good at skin. You don't have to worry about dwindling over that. Next colour, electric blue. Now electric blue is going to be for the shirt. We want that colour, that, you know, really has to bring out a pop kind of colour, because this is going to be beginning of the apocalypse kind of thing, beginning of the zombie invasion. So you want the colours quite nice and crisp instead of drained and all that. Next, oak brown. Now I wanted to go for obviously the leather look with the jacket, and I couldn't really think of a better colour to use bar a dark leather and then darken it down even more. So I went for the oak brown. I mean, it's good, it made quite a good contrast. You could take it a step further by applying a different style of dry brush, change the colouring. But what we're looking for, this makes it, you know, this is quite worthwhile. It's an alright piece to use. And as I said, the model's real nice to paint on, so it's real nice. Alright, necromancer cloak. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of matte black into this. Now what I wanted to do with this was just to darken down that necromancer cloak. It just wasn't as dark as I wanted it. I wanted a bit darker, so that once I put that shade on, you're going to get a real, pretty much black in the creases. So it would be like black trousers, but you could still highlight it up. Even if you didn't want to do the highlighting personally, the shade would do it for you. As you can see with this miniature, everything is pretty much straightforward when you're painting it. There's no hidden parts. It's pretty much all open. It's quite real nice miniature to paint on. So yeah, make sure it's all done. Now matte black. Now we actually use this for the boots. The reason why I use the matte black instead of that, the same colour of the necromancer and matte black, is because I wanted to differentiate between the shoes and the trousers. But I wanted them to be on the kind of same spectrum colour wise. So matte black was my only choice. I could have darkened up the necromancer's cloak a bit more, but I thought matte black will make it seem a lot more smarter. Now the gun, painted black. You can go over a later stage and possibly put some chipping on it, weathering on it and stuff like that, but the black suits well for it, for what it needs to be. Make sure you're getting that handle, all that sort of thing, to, you know, make it look real nice. What we're also going to do with this is going to do the axe, which I forgot to record. Monster brown is the next colour. Now, monster brown, it's only got a small piece, but it's basically for the belt, so that you're using basically your browns, but it's only a little bit. You don't get confused with the other brown. Crushed skull now. Now, crushed skull is going to be for the hilt of the fire axe, and it's going to be for the top of the, like the fur parts of the jacket and stuff like that. So on the trim of the bottom and around the collar. Trying to make it like kind of like an off-white instead of it being pure white, because we're going to use white later on. Well, not pure white, but kind of stark white kind of thing. Again, making sure we get everything, so we don't want to have to go over this once we've hit, you know, the shading phase. It's just going to get too much. So make sure you get 2 thin coats at least Like I said, some of our painted colours, you might have to rise that up a bit, possibly 3, but you know, depends. Greedy gold now, greedy gold I should say. Greedy gold is purely for one thing, and that's the sheriff's badge on his chest. It's plain and simple, it's not hard. Gunmetal now. Gunmetal is going to be for all the metal trim, you know, that's shown. So you got zips, fire axe, you've got parts of the belt, studs on the back of the jacket as well. And also where we painted the fire axe black, silver shows up really well on black. Really does help it, kind of thing. You get quite a nice feel to it. A little bit in the gun there. Like I said, back over the belt. Again, making sure all those metal bits are done. Now, desert yellow. Desert yellow is for the hair. Me personally, I couldn't think of what colour to do the hair, but I wanted kind of a blonde, but dirty blonde, like a real dirty blonde. So that desert yellow, and then we're going to shade it down. I reckon it gives you that quite a nice look of a dirty blonde, but not too yellow tone on it. It's, you know, it's got more of a browny tone. Next one, mummy robes. Now this is what I said about the off-white, literally just off-white. For the undershirt, it literally just pokes out nowhere. So now we're on to shading. And first one, Drakenhof Nightshade. Drakenhof Nightshade is going to be for the shirt. Now, as you can see, this is one of the only Citadel paints I use. At the moment, I'm predominantly using the Army Painter range, but don't have a blue wash. And I wanted to give that blue a real pop kind of thing on it. So now, flesh wash. Flesh wash is obviously going to be for the flesh. We're going to make sure that we get a good coat all round on this, because we don't want to come back, say we've missed parts. You're going to get tide lines, and it can be really, you pretty much have to go over and do the whole paint job if you're that unlucky. So make sure every spot is, you know, everything's shaded and you've not got anything shaded next to unshaded that shouldn't be. So dark tone next. The dark tone is Army Painter's basically black wash. And what we're going to do this for is the shoes and the trousers. And as you can see now, once you put that dark tone on, the trousers now looking black, but then you've also got that edge part so you can kind of just see a little bit of highlight. All the steels as well. All the steels and the metals and all that sort of thing, all done with the black. Just, you know, it does really look nice steel with the black tone. Strong tone next. Now, strong tone is purely going to be for the jacket. That's going to add some real nice depth into the creases and all that. And if you ever get a chance to have a look at these miniatures, or if you already have them, this particular model's got some real nice creases down the back in the jacket, and there's a few creases all over the place, which are really nice to do with the shade. Now we're going to use that strong tone as well for the hair. Now this is where I mean where it's kind of gives it that colour of brown. Now soft tone. Soft tone is like a sepia wash, so we're going to use it for the very light parts. So we're going the collar, the fire axis hilt, and well, staff kind of thing, handle, whatever. I'm going to do it for all the trim on the jacket as well, and also that little tiny part on the shirt itself. Next is leather brown. What we're doing here, we're actually going to highlight it up. Now, I found my browns from Army Painter, I tried to get it to the consistency I like when I highlight, and it just wasn't working. So I've had to do things a little bit differently to what I do usually, and I'm, yeah, on the, you know, not really the best to like it, you know, don't really like that, but I persevere like. So we're just going to get all the ridges of the jacket, goes over, and just making sure that, you know, highest peaks actually pop kind of thing. We see here now is the shirt. Now what I've done is actually took that electric blue and just put a bit of the off-white in with it. And that's what I'm going to be doing for most of the highlighting. It's literally taking the original colour and putting an off-white in there. Don't want it white because I don't want to, I find it doesn't work as well if you highlight with white itself. So I like to take an off-white, and it seems to help the colour in, but could be just me. But hey ho. So now we're on to the trousers. So now for this, instead of actually putting the mummy robe in it, or the off-white, I've actually just gone straight back to Necromancer's cloak. For me, now this Necromancer's cloak works perfectly as the highlight. You don't really have to do this, because that dark tone's done a really good job of actually keeping those highlights there on the raised areas. As I said, like all the highlights and all that, pretty much optional. You could have stopped it just after the shade because it does look good. So you go, just coming up to the end of the highlighting now. Now what we're doing now is we're going to take that original colour, as I said, and we're just going to go over the trim. Just on the edges so that you got a bit of colour near the where it meets the jacket, but it's starting to lighten up as it comes down. Going to hit the collar as well, making sure you know it stands out really well. So now steels and the gold. What I've used is shining silver by Army Painter as well, and it really does add that kind of glisten to it. It makes it look like the light's coming off that silver completely. So just going over the little tiniest of bits, making sure it really does pop. So now skin. As I said before with the browns, it seems like Army Painter skins, I can work with them, but once I've finished them down to the consistency I like, that I usually do on my Citadel paints, just doesn't seem to hold. I don't know if that's just me, but for me it just doesn't hold. I have tried to persevere and I will continue until I get this right, but I've had to go back to a different way of highlighting, and I think it's come off well. You know, the piece does really work. So like I said, concentrate on the face. Now when you're doing the highlights on the face, I would concentrate predominantly, if you don't want to do major highlights, just concentrate on the chin, the nose, underneath the eyes, so on the cheeks, and on the forehead, well, like brow. And then on the fingers, back of the hand, and on the pads of your hand itself. So, done the finger, you know, coming off to the ends of the fingers now. And as you can see, it really doesn't make it really pop, especially when it's holding something. So now, we're going on to the base now. So Gralian Badlands, one of the two. What we're going to do is basically this, we're just going to add it for texture on the base. Make it kind of like a wastelandy kind of feel. So we're just going to take it all over. Camera work on this part was atrocious, I got to admit. As you can see now, got back in the shot a bit. Just going to basically do an even layer, and then I'm just going to raise it from some of the areas, because with this stuff it cracks at the highest when it's the thickest. So I've done the thickest kind of like behind and a little bit at the front, just so that you get that added texture kind of thing. So now it's getting into the detail. What I've done here is I took some of that oak brown and actually just watered it down instead of using a wash, because when you're using texture paints, I find that you put a wash on it, it just doesn't do as lot of work as if you do it on the miniature. So water down a normal paint, use that. So now we're going to go to the dry brushing. We're going to use two colours. We're going to use Monster Brown and we're going to use Skeleton Bone. Now the Monster Brown, once I pull it down, you can't really see a difference. There's a bit of a tint here and there, but it's not really picked up by the camera itself. So I kind of skip over that and I go straight to the Skeleton Bone. Now the Skeleton Bone really does make it pop. And as I said, we're just going to dry brush those top areas, and it just really just brings up that floor, kind of like frame that miniature quite well. Now our next part, we're going to add some foliage. So we're going to use Wasteland Tufts by Army Painter. There's a lot of Army Painter stuff now, trust me. Just going to apply two. So we're going to put one at the back, a bigger one, and then we're going to put a smaller one at the front, just to give it a bit of a pop off the base. Next is Glistening Blood. What zombie thing wouldn't be, you know, it would be lost without blood, you know? So we're going to put blood on the axe, because obviously he just smashed a load of zombies over the head. I'm just going to put a few drops here and there on the floor, so it looks like our blood that was on the axe has actually dropped off him completely. And we're actually going to use two techniques for the blood as well. So we're going to use the basic one with the streaks, and then, as you can see I'm setting it up, we're going to use a dry brush. Well, kind of like a dry brush, we're going to basically dry it all off so it's like a dry brush and stipple on the blood. Now, while you're doing this, it doesn't show up really well when you first get that first couple of things, but as you build in, you get a real nice kind of pop on all the miniatures itself. And there you have it, the finished Rick. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, subscribe and all that. And until next time, see ya.